Explaining, but she said, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Well, I'm feeling kind of lightheaded." She said, "Well, if you're feeling lightheaded, you can't drive your car home. You got to stay all night over at my house. Give me your car keys." I had to reluctantly hand my car keys over. And so I spent that night at Tiffany's, and the next night, I got up to go to the restroom. And when I got up to go to the restroom, I could not walk from here to this little orange warning thing without catching the wall. And so I turned around and I started to go back to the bed, but before I could get to the bed, I collapsed. I didn't know I was collapsed. I didn't know I had passed out. But my grandsons, Alonzo and Nicholas, saw me. And they quickly ran and grabbed me and picked me up and put me back into the bed. Then they called their mother, Tiffany, who was at work, and she said, "We got to get him to the emergency room right away." And I thought about emergency room. It was about 12:30 a.m. I didn't feel like I wanted to go to the emergency room, but they insisted, and the ambulance was called. And since Alonzo and Nick couldn't go with me, and my daughter was at work, I had to ride to the emergency room by myself. I thought I was dehydrated because I usually walk 5 to 7 miles a day. And when I got into the emergency room, I knew something was seriously wrong when the doctors looked at me and examined me, and they said, "We need to give you blood transfusion ASAP right away." And I'm saying, blood transfusion? Little did I realize I was bleeding internally and didn't know it. It's one thing for the doctors to be able to figure out what's wrong with you. And then when they figure out what's wrong with you, it's another thing for them to say, "Well, I can fix it." And so they discovered I was bleeding internally and was continuously getting blood transfusions. And they called in the specialist to look at me, and they said, "Well, we think we can fix it, but you got to have an operation right away." Well, to make a long story short, I went through the operation. The doctors were able to fix the problem, and I was able to say, "God, look down on me." Let me tell you what I thought about. The Israelites were in slavery in Egypt. They didn't know it. They were living in some horrible conditions. But God